Hey K-popers, and welcome back to Hallyu. Well, it's finally time for the very last deep dive to air on this channel, and who else could it be except my ultimate bias group, the group whose official color is the color of Hallyu, Girls' Generation. Now there are a million different stories, awards, and achievements I could share during this video, but we would literally be here all day. Nevertheless, I'm going to do my very best to convey just how incredible and groundbreaking this girl group was, starting with their rookie era, where we're reminded that they weren't superstars from day one. Next, we'll talk about their iconic breakthrough hits with G and Genie and see how they mastered global promotions in Japan and the US as they dominated the K-pop scene. Then we'll revisit that shocking day in September of 2014 and how Girls' Generation continued as 8 members going forward, and finally talk about the remarkable legacy this group has left on K-pop, South Korea, and the world. Before we get started, I want to quickly thank Hallyu's honorary producers. If you want to show off your bias group here, share your pics in weekly videos, and join a vibrant Discord community with watch parties, custom emoji, and more, all you need to do is support Hallyu on Patreon. Okay, so let's get started, and to do so we're rewinding back to the year 2000, which was when the first member of Girls' Generation joined SM's training system, that being Jessica Jung. Jessica and her sister Crystal were scouted in a mall while on family vacation in Korea, and as we know now, Crystal would also end up debuting in the SM girl group FX. The year 2000 was also when Sooyoung and Hyoyeon were cast after attending the SM Open audition. And believe it or not, Sooyoung actually debuted in a Japanese duo called Root Fee in the year 2002 with Marina Takahashi. They disbanded after 3 singles, but they did reunite in 2014 and snapped this adorable picture. Now, Yuri joined SM after coming in 2nd place during SM's 2001 Youth Best Dancer competition, followed by Yuna the next year at Open Auditions. And if you can believe it, this audition was roughly number 200 for Yuna, who had been actively trying to get into the industry through music videos, dramas, and movies. Seohyun was scouted in the subway and auditioned in 2003, while Taeyeon joined a year later after winning the SM Youth Singing Competition in 2004. Tiffany also joined in 2004 after auditioning for SM in Los Angeles. And here is a wild fact, Tiffany and Jessica were both born in the exact same hospital in San Francisco. What are the odds that they would end up together in Girls' Generation? And last but not least, it was Sunny joining the girls in 2007 after a few years away from SM at another agency. Now I do want to take a quick sidebar here because if you're not well versed in Girls' Generation, you might be confused by their name and how people refer to them. That's because while their English name is Girls' Generation, the Korean name is Sonyeoside, and this is where the short form SNSD and Soshi both come from. And so these 9 girls took the stage on August 5th, 2007 to make their debut, and what a debut they made. If you've seen my previous deep dive on it, you know that their debut song Into the New World is the most important K-pop song ever released, as it has grown to embody the entire social progress movement in South Korea. Not to mention its prevalence on practically every girl group survival show as a rite of passage for aspiring trainees to perform. But an important thing to know about Girls' Generation is that they weren't superstars from day one. Their first self-titled album sold about 56,000 copies, which was good enough for 12th best across all albums in 2007, but it certainly wasn't groundbreaking. In fact, Girls' Generation would end up winning their first music show with Into the New World, but it wasn't until 2 months later on the October 11th episode of M Countdown.
소녀시대입니다. 자, 소녀시대 다시 만난 세계가 이번 주 1위는
Now, early Girls' Generation was quintessential cute bubblegum girl group goodness, and this was perhaps best embodied by their promotions for the single Kissing You. Though the girls infamously admitted years later that they hated performing with these lollipops live, the image and cuteness was perfect. And these promotions also brought with them an absolutely incredible moment on February 29th, 2008. On their way to the KBS studios to perform the song on Music Bank, Girls' Generation was involved in a car accident. Now what you also have to remember is that this is 2008, and whether you were from SM or not, if you as a rookie group did not show up for your performance slot on a music show, you're most likely getting a lifetime ban from ever performing on that show again. So with that in mind, the girls raced against the clock and traveled the rest of the way to the studio on foot to make it just in time for their performance slot on Music Bank. And then this happened. It was such an emotionally charged moment and another reminder that at first, Girls' Generation really was just another rookie girl group working tirelessly to make it big. But after their first repackage with the song Baby Baby, this rookie girl group were the victims of the harsh reality that was 2nd generation fandom wars. You see, nowadays a fandom war might involve Twitter hate or dislike bombing a video, but back in 2008, fan wars were a whole other beast. And during the 2008 Dream concert at the Seoul World Cup Stadium, which is a huge venue, Girls' Generation had to endure the unthinkable. Leading up to the concert, tensions were high and the fandoms for Super Junior, DBSK, Wonder Girls, and other groups were irrationally angry with Girls' Generation and with their fans. As SNSD took the stage, every other fandom besides SOWON's protested their appearance by shutting off their light sticks completely, creating what is now referred to as a black ocean. In fact, in this clip, you can even hear other fandoms insulting the girls by chanting Wonder Girls instead of Sonyoshide. This hatred and rejection from most of the crowd was devastating to the girls, with Tiffany and Jessica visibly struggling to hold back their tears during their performance. But as heartbreaking as that night was, the girls pressed on fearlessly, and just months later, Girls' Generation would be gearing up for the breakthrough of the decade. That's because Girls' Generation's next comeback came on January 7th, 2009 with the EP G and the title track by the same name, and frankly, this song's reputation precedes itself. This song is peak bubblegum electropop with adorable outfits and choreo to pair with an insanely catchy beat and lyrics. And of course, a fun cameo from SHINee's Minho to boot. G is the definition of iconic, and to this day it's in the conversation for most iconic K-pop songs of all time. It obliterated records on music shows, and in particular on Music Bank, where it won the show for 9 consecutive weeks. This record would stand for 3 years until Psy's Gangnam Style eclipsed the record with 10 straight wins. G was the best-selling single of the year, and it was without a doubt Girls' Generation's breakthrough hit. This song was absolutely everywhere in Korea. You simply could not escape hearing the words G G G G baby 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 no matter where you were. So now the pressure was on. Was Girls' Generation going to be a flash in the pan with G, or would they actually be able to sustain their success and hold on to that superstardom? Well, obviously in the present we know the answer, but it was thanks in massive part to their next comeback, which was the legendary song Tell Me Your Wish, or Genie. Genie was another spectacular electronic dance track complemented by perhaps the most recognizable girl group outfits of all time. And besides the infectious hook, the outfits, the song, Taeyeon's vocals, and everything else to do with this release, there was so much more going on with this song too. First off, this era was when Girls' Generation's fandom name came into existence, that being SOWON, spelled S-O-N-E. In Korean, Tell Me Your Wish is 소원을 말해봐, with the word 소원 meaning wish. This, alongside the deeper meaning of it being the two words so one, highlight that SNSD will always be with their fans. And interestingly enough, not only does Girls' Generation have a fandom name, but each member has their own fandom as well. For example, my bias Seohyun's fandom name is Soulmate. And it does not stop there. The 36 different ships in this group all have their own fandom names too, with my favorite ship Yunyul being Twin Troopers. But fandom names aside, there was also a specific performance from the Genie promotions that is absolutely astounding. On July 18, 2009, Girls' Generation performed Genie on Show Music Core. What was so special about it? Well, they literally performed it on a rooftop helipad, fitting in perfectly with the theme of their outfits. These girls literally had helicopters encircling the MBC studio to film this amazing performance, and the viewership ratings were staggering. If you had to guess what percent of the entire population of the country of South Korea watched this performance, what would you say? Maybe 1% or 2%? Maybe even 5%? Well, the ratings from that night were a mind-blowing 17.2%. More than 1 in every 6 Koreans tuned into Show Music Core to watch Girls' Generation perform that song live. To put that into perspective, the finale of Produce 48, where IZ*ONE was formed, drew in 3.09%, and that was a survival show finale. This was just a regular Show Music Core episode with a performance of Genie, but that is how big Girls' Generation had become by the summer of 2009. And if that wasn't enough, the South Korean government also blasted Genie over loudspeakers at the demilitarized zone to demoralize North Korean soldiers and entice them to a better life in South Korea. I'm not joking, go look it up. Now, it was around this time that Girls' Generation announced their first tour called Into the New World, which consisted of 7 stops across Asia, including 4 stops in South Korea, and those 4 nights sold out in 3 minutes flat. With all this momentum, Girls' Generation were an unstoppable force, so it should be no surprise that O and its repackaged Run Devil Run topped the charts and sold incredibly well, which I will come back to soon. But after dominating the Korean charts with these 2 amazing songs, it was time for SNSD to take another leap forward, this time into Japan. Their first single was a Japanese version of Genie, which was certified platinum by the RIAJ. 1 month later, they would release a Japanese version of G, which made it to number 2 on Oricon and made Girls' Generation the first non-Japanese girl group to chart in the top 3 since the year 1980. And if that wasn't enough for these girls to do musically in 2010, they also dropped another Korean EP for the song Hoot, which debuted at number 1 on Gaon and sold incredibly well. Alongside O and Run Devil Run, these 3 albums dominated the best-selling albums of 2010. It was all Girls' Generation. And to end off the year, they became the first girl group to ever win back-to-back Artist of the Year awards at the Seoul Music Awards. So what do you do when you're already at the top in Korea? Well, you expand, which is exactly what Girls' Generation did in 2011 and 2012. This started with a big renewed focus on Japan, which included the single Mr. Taxi, a Japanese studio album, and a Japanese tour. That album would end up being certified as a million seller in Japan, making it the first album from a Korean girl group to ever achieve that total. And this is something that a lot of K-pop fans who aren't too familiar with SNSD might not realize, just how much effort they put in and how much success they saw in Japan. Alongside Kara, these 2 second-generation girl groups dominated Japan's music charts, and together they absolutely paved the way for future Japanese promotions for K-pop groups to enjoy. Now, Girls' Generation also made efforts to expand in America too, coinciding with their 3rd studio album, The Boys. This is another fantastic album with a fantastic music video, which had both Korean and English versions. This album was officially released in America as well, and to promote it, the girls performed the title track on both David Letterman and Live with Kelly. The Boys sold nearly 500,000 copies, and it would end up being the highest selling album of 2011. With a new year in 2012, we got a new surprise, as SNSD first subunit Taeji made their debut. The trio of Taeyeon, Tiffany, and Seohyun delivered spectacular vocals and visuals in their debut Twinkle, and they'd go on to release the high-energy Bop Holler and the holiday treat Dear Santa as well. Now, despite this busy schedule in 2012, SNSD would not miss a single beat as they went right back to Japanese promotions, which came in the form of their 2nd Japanese album, Girls in Peace. I think it's pretty well accepted among Soans that Girls' Generation's Japanese discography is at least as good as their Korean one, if not better, and Girls in Peace is the prime example of that. Every single song on this album is spectacular and worthy of being a title track on its own, and I highly recommend you check it out if you never have. Just 2 months later on New Year's Day 2013, and we were gifted with another album, the beloved, if not a bit polarizing, I Got a Boy. For better or for worse, this title track is basically 3 or 4 different songs mashed together into one, and it features some seriously eye-popping colors and sets in the music video. And it turns out it was loved the world over, because during the inaugural YouTube Music Awards, I Got a Boy won Video of the Year, beating out the likes of Psy, Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber, One Direction, Lady Gaga, and others. And it gave us this hilariously cringe moment from Tiffany during her acceptance speech.
YouTube is my best friend. Is YouTube your best friend?
Girls' Generation would go on to add another Japanese album called Love and Peace, which would debut at number 1 on Oricon. It was on Loving Girls that we also got one of SNSD best commercial films, which was sponsored by Samantha Tavasa jeans, that being Galaxy Supernova. SNSD continued to exert their mastery in promoting in both Korea and Japan simultaneously, and they would go on to release the number 1 hit Mr. Mister while also releasing a number 1 greatest hits album in Japan that would make them the first ever non-Japanese girl group to have 3 number 1 albums in Japan. But then came the announcement that shocked Soans around the world and still leaves us baffled to this very day. On September 30th, 2014, Jessica announced that she'd been dismissed from the group, which SM Entertainment confirmed and claimed the reason was due to conflicts between her own schedules and the group's schedules. As soon as a statement came out from SM, it was clear that they were not giving fans the whole truth, and the saga quickly became shrouded in mystery. That same day in Shenzhen, Girls' Generation were clearly emotionally affected by the development, and the next day Taeyeon publicly apologized to fans and asked for them to believe in Girls' Generation once again. This of course led to the historic Tokyo Dome concert on December 9th, at which the girls performed a symbolic ballad version of their debut song that I've covered extensively in the other deep dive I referenced earlier. The confusion surrounding Jessica's departure only deepened in early 2015 though, as the girls' next music video for the Japanese single Catch Me If You Can was leaked. Why was this significant? Well, see for yourself. SM had a fully filmed music video for their next comeback with all 9 members, including Jessica, suggesting that her departure from the group was unexpected and not what SM purported in their statement. Nevertheless, Catch Me If You Can would be released with 8 members in both Japanese and Korean, and it was an excellent comeback. Girls' Generation are typically known for choreo that's mostly upper body and not too technical, but Catch Me If You Can was a full-value, dance-focused comeback where the dancers shine bright and were given the lines to match. And then, leading up to summer 2015, Sone's got the best kind of surprise. SM uploaded a comeback teaser with no specific song name, and that's because they were teasing a triple MV release. First up was the song Party, a perfect summer release that was filmed amidst the beauty of Thailand's beaches. This was followed up with Lionheart, in which the girls showed off their elegant beauty, and You Think, which was the complete opposite of Lionheart. Spikes, leather outfits, aggressive choreo, and an eye-popping GG mobile highlight this 100% badass MV from the girls. After this trilogy of promotions though, there was a definite shift to the girls' activities. Many members started pursuing more solo activities, most notably of course with Taeyeon's solo debut, which would be followed by several other solo debuts from members as well. The group would commemorate their 9th anniversary with the digital single Sailing, and for their 10th anniversary the girls returned with the Holiday Night studio album. This featured 2 music videos for the singles Holiday and All Night, and if there was any doubt whether SNSD still had it, this became their fastest selling Korean album in terms of week 1 sales. Sadly, that fall we got the announcement that Tiffany, Seohyun, and Sooyoung had decided not to renew with SM and instead pursue their own solo careers, though it was made clear at the time that they were not leaving the group. The 5 remaining members of course came back as a new subunit called Girls' Generation OGG in 2018 with that debut single album Little Touch, which I personally loved thanks to it giving members like Yoona and Sunny lots more time to shine. And though things have drastically slowed down since then, Sone's always have their clown makeup handy in case there's some comeback news. In the fall of 2020, all 5 OGG members renewed their contracts with SM once again, and of course this past summer we had all 8 members reunite for a very special episode of U-Quiz on the Block. And now, as we approach Girls' Generation's 15th anniversary, several members are already teasing some unannounced plans as a group, which I am desperately hoping means a new comeback for this legendary girl group. Now, as I said at the outset of this video, it is impossible to talk about every single amazing story or moment from this girl group's career, but their legacy really is second to none. When Girls' Generation debuted in 2007, the K-pop scene had been dominated by boy groups for years, and they led the charge in shifting that focus back to include girl groups. This is a group that didn't just become big in K-pop, they were practically synonymous with South Korean culture. There's good reason for why they came to be known as the nation's girl group. In fact, they topped Forbes Korea Power Celebrity list 3 times and remained in the top 10 for 7 consecutive years. The list of trailblazing accomplishments these 9 girls achieved is unbelievable. I mean, G was named Song of the Decade by Melon. They were the first girl group to reach 100 million views with 4 different MVs, then again with 5 different MVs. By 2016, SNSD was responsible for 5 of the 10 highest grossing tours for any girl group. They were the first group to win 3 grand prizes back to back to back at the Golden Disc Awards. They were even the first celebrity to have official postage stamps from Korea Post. And I haven't even talked about the endorsements, because like I said, Girls' Generation was everywhere. Every single major brand wanted Girls' Generation to not only model, but even to create music videos for them. I mean, you have the Casio Baby G watch, you have their collab with 2PM to promote Caribbean Bay Resort, their countless smartphone MVs, Lotte ads, their MV for the debut of Intel's i3, i5, and i7 processors, their Goobney chicken promotions, their girl perfume line. I could literally go on for hours. In fact, Girls' Generation's brand is so strong that even to this day, nearly 15 years after their debut, they are still the 3rd strongest brand image among all girl groups in K-pop. 15 years later. It's really hard to understand that, but imagine if NMIXX was the 3rd strongest girl group brand in the year 2037. That is how far-reaching Girls' Generation's cultural impact was. They truly left a mark on an entire generation of youth in Korea, and that includes idols. Countless girl group idols from the 3rd and 4th generation have publicly shared how much they were influenced and inspired by Girls' Generation. And if you need an example, look no further than ITZY's Chaeryeong when she was asked who her favorite K-pop group is.
Definitely ITZY.
Of course.
ITZY. That's true too. No ITZY.
Her favorite is G.
And second ITZY.
Of course, ITZY too.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Same level. Or a little bit down. ITZY is a little bit down.
Wow.
Let's keep going.
You speak the truth, Chaeryeong, you really do. In all seriousness though, that really does bring home what Girls' Generation's legacy is. This is a girl group who fought hard to make it and exploded in popularity with G in 2009. And thanks to a decade and a half of hard work and incredible music, Girls' Generation has left a legacy that permeates the cultural fabric of South Korea and of K-pop to this very day. Whether it's their debut song being used as an anthem of change at protests in the heart of Seoul, their music inspiring the third and fourth generations of girl group idols in K-pop, or the generation of youth around the world who fell in love with K-pop thanks to their catchy beats, in my eyes there will only ever be one artist worthy of the title of the nation's girl group, Girls' Generation. And with that, our look at this illustrious girl group has come to an end, along with our series of 102 different deep dives across the entire world of K-pop. What's your favorite Girls' Generation moment, and which of the 102 deep dives did you enjoy most? I'd really love to know in the comments down below. This has been Deep Dive number 102, Girls' Generation.